So we got to see the inside of your garden, but I see a lot of unique plants on the outside of your garden. How many different plants do you have on the outside?
64 different species at the present time, and a few spots are open. Between each rock is where a species is. So the rocks kind of delineate one species from another, and then that's where I will try and keep them in their place as they grow. You'll see, if we walk around, you'll see some of them are pushing the edges already. From
Wow.
running around.
So this is amazing, and you have each one of them labeled.
Yes.
That's
With a common name and the botanic name. Eventually,
amazing.
I want to have signs for each one that has educational value to them. So something to say, something about the plant, what pollinators it likes, and so forth and so on. So
That's amazing. Well, we have a lot of plants. Let's start from the beginning. Which ones are these?
this is common milkweed. Some people think I'm crazy for wanting to take what you find in the field here. But this one here, you can't see it, but I've actually buried a commercial edge in here. See it? Right there. Because this plant travels, and you might get plants coming up 3 feet away. It doesn't travel like the mint does, which is easy to chop and take care of. So I'm hoping to contain it by doing that, but it is very attractive to the monarchs, of course. It looks like the coreopsis isn't up or isn't going to come up, so I don't have that one right now. I did buy some plants though. This is purple milkweed. I just discovered this at Specialty Growers in Howell, and I have one plant, and it is coming up. Blue sage is pollinator friendly, loves pollinators. This is my first time with it. I don't know what it's going to do. Smooth blue aster. There's 3 plants here. Again, these are fall blooming plants, so we'll see what happens in the fall. Like I said, a number of these I don't have experience with yet because I just put them in last fall. Hoary vervain or verbena. I've got 3 of those. Now this is world milkweed. These come up and they have very thin, spiky leaves, and they form on the plant in a whorl, which gives it its name. So I have 2 plants of that. Tall ironweed. Again, I don't know how that's going to do. We'll have to see this year. This is an interesting plant, a rattlesnake master, and it has little balls of flowers on it that are pollinator friendly. And this is my pride and joy of my experiments. I wanted so bad to get Indian paintbrush. Indian paintbrush will not grow by itself. It has a symbiotic relationship with grasses. It needs to be a short grass, and my choice here was Pennsylvania sedge. It will sprout, but it will not thrive unless you put it with a grass. I only had 1 plant survive, and there it is with its sedge, and it's going to bloom. This is the pale pink purple coneflower. This is Echinacea pallida. So instead of Echinacea purpurea. So this is, their petals are really narrow, and they kind of hang down a little bit more. Okay, this is wild quinine. I had this bloom last year. It actually it's not a really big bloom. It's a cluster of little white flowers on top, but it did attract some pollinators, and that's the whole purpose behind what I choose. This is the wild hyacinth, and this is the first year for blooming on it. You can see it's coming along. This one won't be too far from blooming. Obedient plant. This plant is anything but obedient when it comes to staying in its area. However, these are young plants. They haven't started to spread yet, but they will be ones that I need to chop and keep in their areas. And again, they are pollinator friendly. They do get pretty tall. Blue false indigo. And this one here it's kind of a member of the pea family, and it gets little clusters of blue pea-like flowers.
These are actually one of my favorite. I have one of these in my garden, and it sits about 4 feet tall now and about 3 feet wide. Well, actually, when an umbrella's over, it goes about 4 feet wide as well. So they can get pretty big.
At least that one stays in its place.
They will stay in this place. They do not, they just spread, they just get wider little by little. They will not invade.
Okay, this is Ohio goldenrod. I have 2 different goldenrods here. This is one of them. This is its first full year. I planted it last year. So we'll see what it attracts. And this is Shooting Star. Again, it's another one that I do a lot of my purchasing through Prairie Moon Nursery or locally through specialty growers. And it's the different things I'm learning about. So, Pearly Everlasting. And again, this one has just little white flowers on it, but it's got this bluish fuzzy leaf to it, which makes it really pretty. I'm told this one spreads. I think this was only one plant, and that's what it looks like this year from one plant.
I definitely like that. That is adorable. I won't mind that spreading.
Yeah. New England aster. This is the purple aster that a lot of people see, and it probably is in the background of some of the hybrids that you find in the store. And this is its first full year. These are my columbine. Now the native columbine is not the purple kind. It's yellow and red, the flowers. So they do like it in the sun all the way to the shade. So I'm going to have some of this in my shade garden as well.
I know columbine is all over my garden. They are very good spreaders, but if you do want to remove them, they are very easy to remove. They won't overtake your garden, but they will definitely fill in your garden.
Now this is spotted bee balm, Monarda punctata. This particular bee balm is very interesting because each one of these stems is going to come up. It'll have a circle of flowers, and then from the center, the stem keeps growing, and another circle of flowers, and then the stem keeps growing, and another circle of flowers. That's the way it blooms. And the flowers are spotted compared to the other bee balms. Okay, the next one is Queen of the Prairie. This one is a super spreader, but this is the first year plant. Got this one last year as a bare root plant. So it's we'll see what happens with it, and I'll just have to keep it in check. Next is Purple Poppy Mallow, and it almost looks very similar to geraniums, wild geranium, which is further down the line here. But again, it's my first year, so I don't know anything about what it'll do. This was one phlox plant that I planted last year. That's what it looks like this year. So, and this one's the Phlox paniculata.
I haven't seen a tall phlox like this. I've only seen the ground cover ones.
So there's another phlox that's in here also.
And what color does it bloom?
That one I think is purple. It's like a pinky purple.
Okay.
This one, somebody gave it to me and said it was something, and I don't know if that's what it really is. So I'm not going to label it. I'm not going to do anything until it blooms this year, and I'll see what it is. So people are trying to be helpful and give me some plants, but I want to make sure I know what it is.
It has really pretty leaves.
Yeah. This is Shrubby St. John's wort. This actually will get into quite a big bush, so I may have to prune that. But you can actually see, I think the little flowers might be starting. I don't know if that's flowers in there yet. No, that's just leaves. Little yellow leaves. This was one plant. This is the scarlet bee balm. It was one plant and it had about 4 or 5 stems on it last year. This is this year. And it's a huge hummingbird attractor. So the bright red flowers that are usually good for hummingbirds, especially if they have throats on them.
Does that one only spread a little bit around itself, or is it like kind of like
no, it'll
spread
have
like
runners.
Runners.
This is a member of the mint family. Okay, this is the cutleaf coneflower. This is like the ones that are in the center. This could get up to 7 feet tall. And actually, this one I wrote a poem for. And I do remember one part of the poem because it impressed me so much. The plants that are in the center of the garden, they get hit by the sprinkler system and the wind because this is out in the field. So let me see if I can remember this now. Let's see. While other plants flop to the ground in the slightest breeze, I'm the one who stands up proud. My trunks are just like trees.
Oh, that was cute. I like that.
So, and then there's a whole bunch of the rest of it. I love that plant. This is wrinkle-leaf goldenrod. And this did bloom last year. It looks like starbursts, like something, maybe even fireworks going off when it blooms. And next we have the butterfly weed, and that's just coming up now. These are all the plants that I grew myself. So we'll see how well everything did. It looks like most of the plants are coming up. And here's the and this is the anise hyssop. Now I grew this from seed, so it went in just last year. So we'll see how this does in a couple years. And this one, I'll let her take a picture of the name tag, and then I got to tell a story about the next one. The next one, I bought some phlox, bare root plants from Prairie Moon Nursery, and they all came up the following year, and that one sort of looked like phlox and it sort of didn't. And when it bloomed, it wasn't phlox, but it was a Michigan native, and I didn't have it yet, so I moved it to its own spot, and it's called monkey flower. And this is the hairy beard's tongue. This is another penstemon, Penstemon hirsutus, and it's got little fuzz all over the flowers. And then we've got Culver's root. Now I've seen this in ditches on the roadside. It has white flowers. They kind of grow, they're very little flowers that grow in little spires or spikes off the top of the plant. They do grow probably, they do bloom probably in August. This is the great blue lobelia. Okay, this one is Echinacea purpurea alba, which means it's the white version of the purple coneflower. And the only difference is the color of the flower. So the color of that flower will be white. And the next one is Joe Pye weed. And Joe Pye weed looks like it's going to spread a little bit. We'll see how that goes. But that one was another one that the pollinators really liked. This is a cup plant, and I never knew anything about cup plants until somebody told me last year. And I don't think it's big enough yet to see some of the cups. Hasn't come up yet. But what it is these leaves they grow together like this and form a cup. And the water will connect in there, which, you know, like butterflies, they like a little drink. It's just a small little amount of water, and they can get a little drink there. I've also read that the plant does that to prevent crawling insects from coming up to the flowers and destroying the flowers. This is my swamp milkweed. This is just starting to come up right now. Like I said, the milkweeds are late. Oh my goodness, look at that weed in there. So I try to keep this weed free, but there it is. This is the large flowered beard's tongue, grandiflorus. And the flower is quite large on this. And it's looking pretty good. This is not one that really spreads. Next is one of my open spots, so we'll walk right by that one.
The bird thought that was funny.
This is nodding onion. This is actually a Michigan native. It did not bloom last year, but it's looking really, really good this year, so I'm hoping to see some flowers on it. The inflorescences will come up, and then they'll nod downwards towards the ground, and that gives it its name, the nodding onion. Okay, this one's pushing its limit as far as it can go. This is my regular bee balm, the pink bee balm that's in the garden area, and there's a tag on there, it's hidden. So I'm going to have to keep that one in check. This is the wild geranium, and it's getting ready to bloom. The wild geraniums bloom in the spring, and they have pretty pink flowers on them. This one has an interesting story. This is called Northern Blazing Star. Now the other Liatris that I had that's actually in the design, that one, it goes straight up. This one does not. It has beautiful maroon bracts on it before the bright pink flowers come out. And this one is extremely attractive to monarchs for nectar plant. When the monarchs are traveling, I had them probably about 4 days last year, and I'm thinking they were on their way south for their migration. I had at least a dozen monarchs all over, and I've only got 3 or 4 plants here. I have videos and pictures of all of the monarchs on there.
You know what, I'm documenting that one. I would like that in my garden. Anything to help the monarchs.
Yeah, and they would go to that one before they go to anything else in the garden. I didn't see them on any of the other plants.
That's good to note. Very good to note.
This is Ohio spiderwort. So if you're like me, I had grown the spiderworts that you get at the garden centers, and they grow, they bloom, and then they kind of die back for the year, and then you have a vacant spot. This does not. So if you want something that doesn't, this is a good one, and it's kind of got the bluish purple flowers, and I actually saw some flowers throughout the summer. I think the big flush comes in June, July, but then there's still a few popping here and there throughout the summer. Black Eyed Susans.
We all know what those are.
Yeah, those are pretty popular, and for a good reason. They really are nice. This is purple prairie clover. The clover you see in your lawn is not native. These are the native ones, and they actually grow straight up. They get to be about 2 feet tall or so, with the purple flowers on top. that kind of form like almost like a cone that you would see in the middle of a coneflower, but they're purple flowers. That's all you get. It's very, very pretty. This is white turtlehead. This one doesn't seem to spread much at all, but the white flowers look like turtle heads, which is where it gets its name from. I didn't see any pollinators on it. It's also an earlier bloomer. Here's the phlox. This is the wild sweet William that monkey flower was sent with. This is Phlox maculata, and you can see this one is also a big spreader. So I will be watching that one carefully. This is the purple coneflower, which is pretty popular. A lot of people know what that one is, and that's in the design. I love this plant, and I bought it just for its story. This is bottle gentian. When this plant blooms, the flowers don't open. So you wonder, how does it ever get pollinated? Well, native bees, the bumblebees are the native bees. They pollinate it by a technique called buzz pollination. They will buzz their way into that flower, break it open, and go in and pollinate it. I never did catch them in the act last year, but I found flowers with the evidence that they had been there. They were opened up. Okay, next is the blue-eyed grass. It looks like it's not too successful. I just planted it last fall. This was an open spot. There is one plant that's coming up. I'm going to be looking for some others to fill in there. And it looks like thick grass with little blue flowers on the end of it. So that's where it gets its name from. Now this is the cardinal flower that's in the center, not the center, but the inner gardens in the design, in 6 of the inner gardens. This plant, these plants here, bloomed last year, and they got about 5 feet tall. They were above this fence, and the fence is 4 foot tall. So this year I'm going to be looking to try and document a hummingbird. The hummingbirds are tough to get to. Okay, this is the yellow butterfly weed. This is the yellow form of the butterfly weed. And I do have a plant that's coming up in there. So hopefully it is yellow. We'll see. This is the Michigan lily. This is one of the native lilies to Michigan. It's kind of like a tiger lily in the way it looks, but it has stems that will come out quite a bit from here, and then the flower droops off. They'll get a little taller before they bloom. This is the false sunflower that Brighton Garden Club had given me. This was the last plant, and I didn't divide it. I just put it in the edge garden to be the representative of the false sunflower. This is another one of my favorite plants, and this is called prairie smoke. And I got it because of seeing it in pictures, and last year at this time it looked just like this, and I'm going, oh, where's my smoke? But the smoke comes later. So these are actually the flowers. They're starting to open, and then it comes out with all of this stuff that comes out like this in little spirals and twisties that looks like smoke. It looks like the plant is throwing up smoke. And that's where it got its name from.
That's really cool. I like these. I think I'm going to keep an eye out for these ones.
This is the white heath aster, and I have to tell you, I found this in my yard. So I went looking last year for, well, geez, do I have any native plants in my yard? So I started looking around, and to tell you the truth, most of what we think of as wildflowers that I grew up with as a kid, thinking it was, just a wildflower, is not native. It was introduced. But this is native. And this plant got as tall as the fence and as big as, around as wide as the 2 rocks. And it was just covered in little white flowers. Another open spot, so let's go this one. This is the Golden Alexander, or the Zizia aurea. This is the one that I was telling you, and it's getting ready to throw some flowers out. You can see that. And it's a plant it's a host plant for the black swallowtail caterpillars. So I'm going to be planting a lot of things to try and attract the black swallowtail this year. And by the way, parsley is another host plant for the black swallowtail. It's not a Michigan native, but I'm going to put some parsley in other areas in my gardens to try and help the black swallowtail out. Another empty spot. This is the clustered mountain mint. Now, this has a heavenly aroma if you touch the leaves, even if you just water it. What it does though is as it gets bigger, it will probably get to about 3 feet tall. It will get a silvery colored leaves on the top, and then it blooms. And it's called clustered because it's just it's a cluster of flowers starting from the center, and as it blooms, the cluster gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Wow.
This particular plant last year is the one that I documented 14 different pollinators on. Just a wonderful plant for pollinators. I will have to keep it in check because it is a member of the mint family.
I get so excited for the mint ones, but then I realize they're difficult to manage sometimes.
Yeah. Now this one I also found in my yard, but it may be that it's a biennial. I didn't see it come up this year at all, but it's right out there at that birch tree. So I might be able to just find some more. It's called Common Self-Heal. It's probably about 6 inches tall or so with little purple flowers on it. It's very pretty. And then this is the foxglove beard's tongue, the one that's actually in one of the inner gardens.
I love the color of that plant. A lot of, almost everything is green. To have that nice, rich, dark purple, maroon in your garden is so nice.
And I'm not sure that could possibly be a nativar or a cultivar, but it's what I got. So
very nice. Thank you so much.
It was labeled as the species.
This is fascinating. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.